You need to be what you want the dog to be. One of the most frustrating pieces of advice I ever got when I was struggling with a high-strung, anxious, bull-headed dog named Lexi. Oh, it was the most frustrating piece of advice. Be what you want the dog to be. And I was like, oh, that's like the worst advice ever. And now here I am, many years later, telling everybody, guess what? You need to be what you want the dog to be. Well, I'll tell you, as much as you may want to hate that piece of advice, it will, when you embrace it, when you just embrace it and start to practice it, you are going to find big changes happening with your dog. No matter what, if it's a fearful dog, if it's an anxious dog, if it's a reactive dog, you are going to see the hugest shift in behavior when you embrace that piece of advice. Understanding the concept of emotional mirroring, that's what we're talking about today. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience. I am going to tell you the story of Lexi, and I'm going to tell you the story of Lexi. Full disclosure, this is not the best version of Tracy. I mean, if I look back, this would be one of those moments in my life where I was like, man, you did not show up as the best version of you for this. And I'm telling you this in full disclosure because I know my people, I know that you are probably someone like me who struggles with some guilt, maybe a little shame with how we have allowed our dog's behavior to affect us. We've allowed what they're doing to affect how we show up for the dog, whether or not that's frustrated or angry even. I know you struggle with it. I know you struggle with it because I struggle with it. I struggle with it all the time. And I'll be honest with you, anytime I think back to this time when Lexi was a part of my life, I have those moments where I'm like, I did not show up great for that dog on a daily like that. It was a struggle. So let me set the scene for you a little bit, tell you quickly the story of Lexi. Lexi was a dog that was in our local humane society, and she had been there for way too long. Honestly, way too long. She was pretty high strung. She was dog reactive and a massive puller, like, oh God, she would pull. She was high energy, so she'd jump up on you. She, crazy athletic. But just like a ball of anxious, just energy. And she was like a little muscular, bully mix dog, like just a little like spitfire. I'm even when I sit, like, I'm reminded of her, she was just this little thing of energy. And as a result, most likely probably due to her dog reactivity. I mean, she had the rap sheet at the shelter, like, should be an only dog and also no other pets, and watch out for squirrels because she will also try to kill those. Like, she had some prey drive, she had some reactivity, she had the rap sheet. And so as a result of that, She wasn't really highly sought out after in the adoption center. So she had to be like, she was there for a while, and she was there for too long. And we know the issue with a lot of these dogs, especially dogs like that, what ends up happening is not only do they not get adopted, so they stay within the shelter system. And this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I could go on about my feelings of rescues and shelters and whatnot. But this actually isn't me throwing shade at the shelter. They can only do what they can do. The shelter by nature is going to be a highly anxious place, right? Dogs coming in, dogs that have been, abandoned or left there, the emotions and the anxiety based just in there. It's anxiety soup, in a shelter system. So literally we have dogs that are, spending all day marinating in that anxiety soup. And so it just can't help but permeate everything. And what happened with Lexi was, because she was dog reactive and high prey drive, she was literally a pain in the butt to walk. Now, I am going to say this because it's 2025. I'm just going to say the words that I want to say. She says as she holds her breath and is about to say the words that she wants to say. I will say this, one of the downsides to the philosophies of shelter systems is that they are very restrictive on the type of equipment that you can use to walk the dogs. I'm going to put that out there. And so most times it's like dogs have to be walked on a harness. But when you have a little ball of muscle that has high prey drive and is on a harness that is put on the strongest part of the dog's body, and then we say, hey, volunteers, could you walk this little ball of energy on a harness? Don't give those volunteers any tips or clues on how to perhaps, I don't know, train the dog a little bit to walk well on a leash. No. We want them to just take them out. Who are our volunteers too? God bless the volunteers, but who are the volunteers generally speaking, right? Who are they going to be? They're going to be high school students. Most of them probably, just nice kids that just want to spend some time with some dogs, or they're going to be retired people that have now time to spend and they want to give back and they want to spend some time in the shelter. So really the demographic of maybe not physically the most appropriate for handling a little ball of muscle that is hyped up on adrenaline, that is dealing with some wicked prey drive and historically dog reactive. You see the nightmare that we've created. And then on top of that, we're like, only use this harness so that when this dog pulls you, it's really going to pull you, like pull you off your feet, pull you, which is exactly what Lexi did. It was exactly what Lexi did. Nobody wanted to walk her. The volunteers were like, no, thank you. I don't need my arms pulled out of my socket. I don't need to be pulled off the trail. I don't need to get hurt or injured. Our retired community was like, I can't afford to get hurt. I know I'm feeling it now. I don't personally recover as quick as I used to. If I slip and fall, that's going to be 2 weeks of me being in pain. I get it. So the point is that through Lexi's lengthy stay at the Humane Society, she ended up spending more and more time in her kennel. Now, they put her out in the yard and stuff, like she had yard time or whatnot, but she was dog reactive, so she wasn't going out with other dogs and playing with other dogs. Maybe somebody was out playing ball with her. I don't know. I wasn't there. All I know is that when I came around and I was helping out with the Humane Society, taking in dogs that, maybe needed to change a pace, that sort of thing, I ended up with Lexi as a project. Like, can we get her to be around dogs? Can she be less reactive? All of that stuff. And as the time with Lexi, Lexi ended up staying at my kennel, like And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how it happened, other than the fact that I lack the ability to say no, um, which I'm working on. As I get older and less estrogen, I feel that my tolerance for that is getting less and less. But I didn't say no. I should have. But anyway, Lexi ended up staying with us for a long period of time. Now, admittingly, she ended up getting a lot more exercise and a lot more activity. We did take her on pack walks. Um, we had to muzzle condition her so that she could be around other dogs and all of that stuff. And so she was getting out. And I actually had, volunteer trainers coming out. Hashtag shout out to my friend Cindy. Cindy worked a lot with Lexi. I had Sphere from overseas. He was there for a while. He worked a lot with Lexi. I had lots of trainer help back then. And so people were, constantly coming and helping and working with her and trying to get her to a place. We did a lot of pack socialization with her. She was able eventually to hang out with my dogs, my Noof pack. But that was it. I wouldn't trust her with like client dogs or daycare dogs or anything like that. But she did end up, getting a little bit of a life. But the issue that I personally had with her is that Lexi's anxiety would rub off on me. Like, I can't explain it. I would go in and I would automatically hear her like bouncing off the walls of her run. And I'll set the stage for you for our facility back in Ontario was a pretty epic facility as far as for a dog place, because it was a converted horse facility. So our dog suites were literally 10 by 10 stalls that the horses used to be in. So they were big, they were sturdy. Like we're talking old construction kind of thing. Like it was a nice barn. So when we sort of redid it and we put a heat source in and we, insulated it and did all this stuff and made it into a dog kennel, we left the majority of the runs, but I think we took, what was it? Two or maybe four of the stalls, and we split them in two for little dogs because I'm going to go on a tangent here, but as much as I tried to discourage little dogs from boarding with us, people were still like, there were a lot of little dogs that needed my help. So we were like, we can't have them in this. Like they look so teeny tiny in a 10 by 10 stall. And it was overwhelming for them. So my husband did end up putting barricades in, and we made two of the stalls. I think it was just two of the stalls into smaller stalls. So we ended up with 4 small stalls. Anyway, I digress. The point is, the dogs that were in our care had a 10 by 10 room essentially. So dogs that came to board with us, you could bring their crates, their dog beds, their bowls. Like you could literally I had people bringing little carpets and mats. Like they designed their dog suites, especially if it was for a long stay. Like they would bring whatever. And we were fine with it. It was cool because the dogs felt really comfortable in it. So Lexi had a 10 by 10 run. And as soon as she'd hear us come in, she'd just start throwing herself against the walls and bouncing around. And when you came in, as much as I would sit there and go like, okay, you have to calm down. Like she was obedient. So she'd sit, but she'd just be bursting with energy. And you'd put her equipment on to take her for a walk. And she would do it. She was obedient. Like she was obedient, but then she would be like, I'm going to try to bolt out of the run. I'm going to bolt out of the thing. Like everything with her was like at level 12, like just everything. And for me, it was too much. Like it was just too much. And so, through the lengthy time that she was with us, like I think Lexi was with it. Like, if I can be honest, I think the Humane Society, and I don't honestly blame them, they were like, Lexi was out of sight, out of mind. And so they kind of forgot about her. Like, I don't think she was still on the adoption list anymore. Like, that's how much they kind of forgot about her. And again, out of sight, out of mind, I don't blame them necessarily. But like, I would have to contact them and be like, what's happening with Lexi? Like, are you guys still working on finding this dog a home? Because I'm not keeping her. Like, I'll tell you that right now. She's not living her rest of her days here. Anyway, I'm telling the story of Lexi way too long. But the point is, she wasn't going anywhere. Nobody was adopting her. She was becoming very obedient, but her life wasn't changing any. And like in the sense of she was still anxious. And so I had reached out to Nelson, as I've mentioned Nelson a few times, and hopefully this year I've already reached out to him. He did say that he would be on the podcast, so you'll get to meet him. It's going to be exciting. But I had reached out to him and I was like, here's the sitch. Like, I'm not getting anywhere with this dog. And he said to me, he said, Tracy, you need to be what you want the dog to be. And if the dog is anxious and whatnot and has anxiety and all this stuff, it's because you're throwing some of that. And I was like, I am not, like first defense is always, no, it's not me, it's the dog. And then he said to me, you cannot allow Lexi's behavior to influence your behavior. And I sat there for a moment and I was like, ugh, he's probably right. It's Nelson. He's right. But I was like, is that what I'm doing? And I really thought about it. And so his suggestion to me was, I want you to go in and write out a note, put it on her door of her suite and just say, do not let Lexi's behavior influence your behavior, as a reminder that before you start engaging, before you open that door, I want you to remind yourself, do not let Lexi's behavior influence your behavior. You have control of your own emotional response. And I'm like, do I though? Do I, Nelson? Do I really? Anyway, I actually did it. So people moving forward actually used to see the clipboard that was hanging on Lexi's run with a big note on it that said, do not let Lexi's behavior influence your behavior. And then he reminded me that there's, I got to find the good in this. Like I have to find the good in this. Right. And then so, the very first day after I put it, I'll be honest with you, when I put the sign up and I almost put it up, and then that was what was on my mind. Like, now I have to put a stupid sign on this run just to be able to handle you. Okay. As I've already said, this was not my finest hour. Okay. They say the hardest dogs are the ones that teach you the most about yourself. And that's probably true for me and Lexi. So it wasn't the first day that I put the sign up, because the first day I literally was like, oh no, I have to put a sign up, right? To remind me that I'm not good enough. That's what it felt like at first. And then, but the next day I came in, I heard the noise she was making, and it automatically made me start to get like, I could feel it. You know how you could feel it? And I walked up and I read it. And then I forced myself to read it out loud. And I was like, do not let Lexi's behavior influence my behavior. And then I took a deep breath and I closed my eyes and I was like, I said it again. Do not let Lexi's behavior influence my behavior. Do not let Lexi's behavior influence my behavior. And I walked in, and of course she came up all happy. She came up like all crazy happy, and, and, tried to jump on me. And I stood there and I was like, don't let it influence your behavior. And I remained calm. And I was like, Lexi, let's sit. Let's not do that. And she did. She let me put her collar on. I wasn't doing any, first thing in the morning. I never did anything with Lexi with other dogs, because the morning is most mornings, for those that have families, most mornings, it's crazy. The kennel, it's about feeding time. There's a ritual of eating. So there's excitement. And so I'm like, I'm not doing anything with dogs. So I didn't have to put her muzzle or anything on, but I took her down to the arena. And so we're walking. She's kind of still she's kind of bouncing beside me. She didn't jump on me. She didn't scratch me or jump on me, but she's bouncing beside me. And I just kept on going, don't let Lexi's behavior influence your behavior. I just kept repeating. It's like my Lexi mantra. And I got to the arena, because that was also the beautiful thing about our facility. These are the things I do miss. I do miss it. But we had an indoor riding arena that we used to work the dogs in. And so I took her out and she had her ball. and her stuff. Like she liked to play fetch and everything like that. So I took her out, I unclipped her thing. She immediately does her laps. Like it was like she had this energy that she had to get out. So she would literally just run laps, like around the arena, just stupid, crazy laps. And then when she was done, she came over and I took her toy and I threw it. Now, I try to describe the arena to you, but all you really need to know is, because of horses, kicking and whatnot, there was like a half wall and then a bit of a lip. And then the dome, or like then not the dome, but the rest of the building. So there was open, what do you call that? Paneling or whatever the heck it is. But there was a half wall, essentially, so that if horses kicked or whatnot, they wouldn't dent the outside framing of the arena. But there was a lip there, and if you had thin things, it would actually fall in between that and the wall. Anyway, I tell you this because I threw Lexi's toy, and it literally hit the half wall and got stuck there. And I was like, oh man, what are the chances of that? And I started walking towards it to get it down because it was a pretty high wall, right? And Lexi comes flying by me, literally scales the wall, grabs the toy, and then keeps going. And I was like, holy bananas. Like the dog scaled the wall. And I looked at her and I was like, what the actual? Well, did that not open up like a whole new world for me? Because I was like, this dog has like crazy athletics. So I started doing things that morning. Like, how can I hide this thing or put this? Like, I started creating almost obstacles, not things that she would get hurt in, but obstacles for her. Because I was like, what can you do, dog? And lo and behold, Lexi, was unbelievable, like scaling walls, jumping jumps. I created almost puzzles. Like I would throw her one ball this way and then I would take her other ball and hide it. And I'd be like, go find the other ball. And she was relentless and incredible. Like I was like, holy moly. And the more I got into this being like, look at you, like she all of a sudden, there was a massive perspective shift where I was like, oh my gosh, if you take that anxiety and you put it into something, this dog would blow your mind, right? Like we had like horse jumps and stuff like that and that we used, but like I made well, if I had agility equipment, she probably would have been wicked at agility. Right? Like wicked at agility. I had horse equipment because it used to be a horse facility. So I was making all these things. It was amazing. The long and the short of it is, not only did I leave that experience, one, not incredibly frustrated with this dog, but instead in awe of this dog. Like I was smiling. She walked beside me back with like she was carrying her toy and her tail she had this like looseness about her. Like this whole, like, look what I did. I was like, oh my gosh, you're incredible. Like, look what you did. And I put her in, she went in, she had her drink and whatnot. And she curled up on her bed and took a nap. And I was like, man, you gotta be what you want the dog to be, right? So there's kind of two pieces of that, right? Be what you want the dog to be, yes, but also find what it is. Like if you could take the thing that drives you crazy and then find a way to harness it into something awesome and you see the awesomeness of it, the dog mirrors that back to you. And that's what I want to talk about today. Oh man, I'm running long, but that's okay. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I wanted to talk a little bit about this understanding of emotional mirroring, because not only did it matter that I didn't let her anxiety and everything make me anxious, I didn't allow her being to make me frustrated, but I took it one step further and I took what she had. I mean, by accident, I didn't know she could scale a friggin' wall. But I took what she had And I turned it into something that made me go, holy crap, what else can you do, dog? And she was like, she would do whatever I asked her to do. She would do whatever I asked her to do. Something I will say that I now know is like what that breed, like, because I had a pit bull greyhound mix named Apollo. He was the exact same way. He'd do anything for me, and there's something about that drive, that same drive that drives you crazy is the same is what you love, right? It can be what you love. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Dogs can mirror our emotions, and this is actually found in science. Like science, there's been scientific studies that have actually proven this. Psychology Today had a study where changes in the owner's heart rate can predict similar changes in the dog's heart rate, suggesting that dogs can recognize and mirror owner's stress levels. What? Right? There's also a scent of stress that we have. So research from the University of Bristol revealed that dogs exposed to stress-related human odors exhibit more pessimistic behaviors, indicating a negative emotional shift. What? It's true. I will say there was other ones here. Let me see if I can find them. Oh, I lost my thing. Those were the big ones that I wrote down, though. Those were the big ones. Like this idea that that dogs are mirroring what we do, right? And how we are. And so what do we do about that? Right? If you're someone who's like constantly stressed out about your dog's behavior, you're riddled with guilt and stress and shame and all of these emotions, we know now that they call it an emotional contagion, right? So there's a huge benefit for us to create a calm home and a calm inner peace when dealing with our dogs, right? The benefits of having a calm home, of course, are literally that dogs are going to thrive in this setting. They're going to feel a lot more safe and secure, and they're going to have a reduced anxiety and reactivity. Consistent routines, gentle interactions, and environmental enrichment can help enhance the dog's mental and emotional well-being, allowing them to be generally more optimistic. There's a lot of studies coming out about dogs being optimistic, right? And so you might be asking yourself, well, how do you do it? Besides putting a note on your bathroom mirror that says, do not let my dog's behavior influence my behavior, right? You can do that if you want to. That's what worked for me. I had to walk into the kennel every day and see that sign that says, do not let Lexi's behavior influence your behavior. But one of the ways that we can do that, first and foremost, I think this is a big one. This is the big one that I had to sort of wrap my head around, especially when it came to Lexi, is that don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. I will say, as someone who has worked with a lot of people with their dog's behavior, there is this idea that dogs know better, that dogs, that, well, my dog knows better than to do that, or that the dog is doing intentionally. And honestly, they're really not. And you really shouldn't take it personally. Your dog's behavior is not a direct reflection of necessarily your abilities or even your relationships. Their behavior may be like a response to a stimulus or to fear, right? Or if you have a dog that is dealing with chronic anxiety, and you don't know where that came from. Let's say you rescued or adopted this dog. Your dog came into your life with this. It's not about you personally, right? And understanding this is going to allow you to stay a little bit more objective, right? And then the other thing too is this understanding of maybe getting some perspective, right? I'm always sort of striving for people to take some time to see the world through the dog's eyes, to understand the world from their perspective. And when you do that, you're going to actually address their needs effectively without feeding into their emotions or your emotions, right? So if you can try to replace that frustration with some curiosity, like, my saying, how interesting, instead of, oh God, why did you do that? Why did that happen again? Why are you constantly doing this? Why are you like that? Change it to how interesting. Change it to how interesting. If you catch yourself doing it, say, how interesting, right? What are some practical steps? I mean, if you were going to say, Tracy, what's some practical steps? What are some tacticals of what I can do to actually allow myself to not be influenced by my dog's behavior, to be what I need the dog to be? You know, you know me. I'm really into personal development, so a lot of this stuff comes from the world of personal development. But simple things like grounding yourself first, right? Take a deep breath. Breathing. I know it sounds like, oh God, so you're going to talk about breathing. I take a breath. Yes, take a breath. If you come in, you hear your dog is whining and anxious, and you're like, they're in the crate and they're just whining and whining, whining and whining. And you know that, like, I'm someone that can't handle a whine. You're someone that can't handle whining. You're amongst the majority. None of us like whining. It's a annoying sound. Nobody likes it. But if you come in and that's what's happening, there's a lot of whining going on, then just stop, take a deep breath, say, do not let my dog's behavior influence my behavior. I can do this, right? Take a deep breath and try to stay as neutral as you can, right? Because your dog is going to take cues from you, right? Your dog is going to look at you and be like, how are you feeling today? They don't know. All they know is that whining works. Whining gets them something, right? I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it quickly here. Whining is an infantile sound, okay? Generally speaking, whining doesn't work for other dogs. If we weren't in the picture, the whining would dissipate as a puppy ages, because it's not a sound that works for them. Dogs won't react to another dog whining. It doesn't get them anything. So the only reason why dogs whine is because we do something. We respond to it and it works, right? That's it. So their whining is because they know that you're going to do something. You're going to come and get them or let them out. But if you let that whining get you angry, upset, frustrated, or whatnot, then you're going to be already at the short end of this stick. I don't know if that's the right saying. I don't know if that's the right saying at all, but you know what I mean, right? So you want to try to stay as neutral as possible. And here's the thing, and this is a big one. So write this down. Write this down. If you mess up, let's say everything's stacked against you. You had a bad day at work. Somebody cut you off. You didn't get your coffee, whatever it is. And you get home and the dog is whining and you're like, oh, that's it. And you open up the thing and be like, just get outside. I can't handle it right now. And then you let the dog out. And then you have a moment afterwards where you go, oh God, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to apologize to the dog. Like when you bring the dog in, be like, I'm sorry, buddy. That wasn't my best self. I want you to apologize to the dog. Say the words that you need to say to make yourself feel better, because, English doesn't really matter to the dogs. They don't really care. But say the words that you need to say and then move on. Shake it off and then move on. Because dogs apologize all the time. Dogs mess up all the time. I watch dog-to-dog interaction every day, all the time. It's my favorite thing to do, is to watch dogs interacting with one another. And let me tell you, they mess up all the time. And when they do mess up, they apologize and they move on. You ever seen a dog apologize to another dog? They do something, they step on a foot, they do whatever, and the other dog goes, hey, that hurt. And then the dog goes, oh, I'm sorry. They get down real low. They maybe lick a little bit at the lips. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. And the other dog goes, it's fine, move on. And they move on. And you can too. So apologize, move on, right? And then just work towards creating that peaceful household environment, right? Stick to consistent routines, provide opportunities for exploration, do all of the things that you would do. Create a really calm home environment, a safe place for your dog to come home to, and you're going to be golden. You're going to be golden. And if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know, I need some more help with this. What do I do? How do I do it, Tracy? I'm telling you, today and now would be a great time, shameless plug, to come in and come and get a coaching call with me. You want to sit down and talk about it? We can talk about it. We can talk about it. You can tell me about it, and we can come up with a plan together, you and I, right? If you're like ready to stop letting your dog's behavior dictate your emotions and you want to become a calm and confident leader that your dog needs you to be, you can book that call today. Book a call today with me. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's a no judgment zone. It's 1 hour. We get together with Zoom. We sit down, we talk, we go over a few things. We're going to talk about how you can show up to be what you need the dog to be. All right, so let's do that. Here's how you do that. You're going to go to beyondobedience.ca/session, beyondobedience.ca/session, SESSION, session, and book a calm, confident coaching call with me. We're going to do that. All right. I can't wait to get started with you. It's going to be awesome. All right. So let's recap everything. Dogs reflect our emotions, right? That's the bottom line. They mirror our emotions. Scientific proof of that. The dogs are doing that. So we need to learn how to be what we want the dog to be. Thank you, Nelson. I hated the advice when I got it, but here I am. Now wiser. Okay. But we want to just set a stage for a calmer and more confident dog. That's what you need to do. Okay. So if you haven't already, I want you to join me over in the Living Beyond Obedience Facebook group. We can get some additional support and a sense of community over there. And book a call. Book a call. I can't wait to get started. Go to beyondobedience.ca/session. We'll get together. We'll have tea. It'll be fun. We can do this. You can do this. You don't have to do it alone. Let's do it together. All right. I think that's it for me today. As always, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you're amazing. And so do I. If you loved this episode, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple, share it with a friend, comment, I don't know, put it on your Facebook, do whatever. Let's get more people like you and me to hang out together. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you are really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.